To know that you are God is another way of saying that you feel completely with this universe. You feel profoundly rooted in it and connected with it. You feel, in other words, that the whole energy which expresses itself in this galaxy is intimate. It is not something to which you are a stranger, but it is that with which you, whatever it is, are intimately bound up. That in your seeing, your hearing, your talking, your thinking, your moving, you express that which it is that moves the sun and other stars. And that's Alan Watts describing, I would say, what it means to be a part of reality.
Yeah.
To be a human and a god, maybe, at the same time.
Yeah, I've been saying, like, for most of this year that we're like gods in our own right.
Just generally. In the bathroom, during a shower. I'm a god. I am a god.
Well, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, wow.
Good job, God.
Good job, me. No, what I mean is that we have power over our own destiny, right? Their destiny is not necessarily a thing. We decide what we do. And
well, when you say destiny, are you really saying fate?
Yeah, fate, okay. Destiny, pre-decided order.
So do you? So then you don't believe in fate, even in like a scientific viewpoint. In other words, the tumblers are, even if they're in your favor to be someone or something or to do a certain action, you can willfully interrupt that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But here's a question then. Does it matter whether or not you know you're interrupting or you don't? In other words, if you could see the future of your next action and then therefore make a decision to interrupt it or not, does that make a difference?
To what?
Compared to interrupting it accidentally.
Oh, a difference in your
knowing that it's going to happen.
I mean, I guess that's just a question I don't really understand.
Well, what then does it mean what does fate mean to you then? Is that a mystical idea?
Fate to me means something that is going to happen to you or you're going to do regardless of your choices.
Okay. So would you say that is a metaphysical claim?
Fate? Or
yes.
Yeah.
So, okay,
it's very metaphysical.
It's magic. It's, saying the unknowable workings of the universe that we can't measure.
Of the universe of the Norns, of the, of whatever you decide.
The universe they're all in the same universe either way, whether you believe.
I'm just saying whatever name you want to give it. Magic.
Well, that touches then on the idea of free will, which I would say we don't have. I would say you can disprove free will. I would say philosophically, logically, even through religious explanation, but of course more importantly through scientific data. But even if you didn't want to accept the science behind it, or that argues it doesn't exist, I think you can always disprove free will.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying because
you don't agree.
No, I don't.
Why is that?
Well, because I believe that I'm in control of everything that I do. Like I make conscious decisions. I weigh options.
How do you know you make those decisions though? They just come to you, don't they?
No, they're deliberated. They're within my own mind. Are they really?
Are you part of that deliberation process? Let's test it. We can test it right now. Do you want to test it?
Sure.
Okay. I want you to think of a movie. Right now. Give me the first movie in your head.
Monty Python and the Quest of the Holy Grail.
Why did you think of that movie? Why didn't you choose any other movie that exists? Exactly.
Because that's the one that came to my mind. That was the first one that I could think of.
But it just came to you.
It was the first one. It was the closest one in my files.
There was no deliberation. It just arrived.
You said to pick one.
Right. But there was no deliberation. It just arrived in your consciousness. Which, by the way, is the last part of your brain.
But I looked for it.
Did you? You didn't consciously look for it. It arrived in your thought.
No, I wouldn't say it just arrived.
Well, sure it did. How could you think of something before you think of it?
I didn't. I looked for it. There
was no process for
images.
Looking.
Yes, there was. There. I saw things to look for in my mind.
So your mind generated movie choices.
No, and then it generated scenes pretty much, and then the images. I was looking for images, and that was the first one. Right, was King Arthur from.
And why that movie and not any other movie?
Well, I would say because of the way it's connected to my past.
Well, you're assuming that,
and it was in the
process of choosing it. You weren't part of that cognitively. You didn't make any conscious decisions.
I consciously decided to think of
Well,
look
your
for a
consciousness
movie.
is also the last part of your thinking process
Yeah.
to know any thinking has occurred.
That's true.
And
Because
that's scientifically proven.
it is.
So
Because
so even with that in mind, that's, I guess, the point I'm making. But I'm not trying to convince you, not really, to agree with me.
right.
I'm just,
You're just pointing
I'm
out.
devil's advocate.
Yeah,
you know,
no, which is fine.
I'm just poking the Zach, but not enough for him to kill me.
Yeah, this very can be dangerous. No, but I know what you mean by you can make decisions without thinking of them, but that doesn't mean that you don't have free will, because you can also decide not to do that thing.
I just think, well, see, but going off of that, I think what that really says is that you don't have free will, but it does still matter that you come to conclusions, right? Because what the brain does is it's a rather awkward, it's a rather queer sort of effect that the brain has on your thought process, meaning when you come to a decision about something, like in this case, I asked you to think of a movie, every thought you have after the movie that you thought of is now banked and may in some way sort of preface the decision of a movie of the same question asked in the future. So in other words, there will be reason if I ask that question again in say a few days or a month, and you say the same movie, a reason for that could be because
It's primed.
you're primed.
Yeah.
But the opposite could be true, or rather, a completely different truth could come forth. In other words, I could ask that question in a month, and you may choose any movie but Monty Python,
Right.
because it has already been chosen and therefore is marked in some way
Right.
in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So, I would say that it's still important that we make decisions, but I don't think we make them willfully. I think they arrive after a collection of different variables that are unconscious variables, and we're definitely, I think, still learning what that process is. I don't think we can explain it yet. But does that mean, some people believe that means, or some people believe that is evidence for the metaphysical, that that's your soul, or that it's the will of whatever you want to call a soul, or your ethereal being. That is the true you.
I don't think that has to do with your free will or your consciousness.
No, it does if you believe in having a soul. I mean, I grew up. My household is Eastern Orthodox, which is, they would argue, I guess, the original Christianity, right?
Okay.
And if you're Jewish, that makes you laugh, perhaps. But whatever, that's how Eastern Orthodox sees it. At least in my household, they did. And in that situation, in that belief system, you have a soul that basically drives your body like your soul's a taxi driver and your body's the vehicle, if you want to think of it that way.
Right.
Or you're driving a car.
So your consciousness is connected to your soul.
Well, it isn't.
It is your soul then?
No, yeah, that's the queer thing about Christianity, is that the definition of a soul is it's you, but it's not you. In other words, your soul makes decisions and is responsible for your morality and your sins, your goodness and your badness, but you don't have the ability to communicate with yourself. So your consciousness is just who you are in the physical plane, and your soul is the unknowable part of the metaphysical. And it's very confusing.
So could a soul almost be like a second body? And then
I guess you could look at it that way, but
travels from one to the other.
Well, no, it's never explained that way.
Within death, or
at death the body dies,
right?
And it's never. Having read like New Testament and Old Testament, I can't think of any story where it describes in detail what happens to the memories of the soul, other than you seem to gain the good ones if you go to heaven, and linger in the bad ones if you go to hell. And at least that's the impression I got, because it seemed like anytime damnation was talked about, it really judged a person's decisions in life.
By their actions,
right?
And what they've done.
Whereas in paradise, in heaven, you're just sort of rewarded for, I guess, accidentally being you, since you had no. That's the one thing I've often brought
in
up.
Christianity, you do have free will.
Yes,
like
but
that's the point of humans.
So, okay, Christians believe they have free will, and I had this discussion with other people many times before, and I posited this. So, okay, you believe you're a Christian and you believe you have free will. Well, let me ask you 3 simple questions, and you play the Christian, Zach.
Okay.
So, question number 1, do you believe that God is all powerful, that he can do anything? He's omnipotent.
Right.
Okay. Question number 2, does God know everything, past, present, and future? Is all knowledge known to him? All answers known to him? Okay. And the third question is, did God make you?
Right.
Okay. So with those 3, now they're loaded questions, because I know you're going to say yes to them if you're a Christian and you're playing the Christian right now. With that in mind, how can you believe you have free will? Because here's the thing. If God is all powerful, knows everything, and created you, that means that long before he even created the universe, he knew he would make you. He also knew who you would be, what life you would lead. So say you're Stalin, or forget about some evil historical figure. You're run-of-the-mill psychopath or killer, right?
Right.
Of which there are millions, right, over time, thousands, whatever. He knew that you would be that way, and he made you anyway. So the decision was never yours to be who you are. He created you to play out the part that he knew you would be. And if you could make a decision that God didn't see or couldn't know, you would therefore then be more powerful than him, which of course you can't believe if you're a Christian. That's blasphemy. So where's the free will come into play?
Well, just because, what if he exists in all times, right? So God is like, say, Dr. Manhattan. Like he's existing everywhere at once.
That only plays in favor of my side of the argument.
Right, but I know. But what I'm saying is, if he can see it because it's happening now, right? All time exists at once. So he can literally see what's happening. It's not that he's making you and knowing that you're going to do it.
What's the difference? He had to make the decision to create me. So if I was a bad person, it was still his decision to make me.
Or was it his decision to allow you to exist?
Either way, he knows, even if he knows, knowing what choices I'm going to make is the same as setting them.
Setting your choices?
There's no difference. Because the first choice, the choice that matters at all is me being created. As far as I'm concerned, right? And that choice is always going to be God's, not mine.
Well, it's your parents' choice too, right?
No, he made sure that they existed first so that I could be born, and so on and so forth. Every choice of life was his. And if you're Christian, you believe that more intimately, because God puts, from the well of souls, if you're Catholic, God puts the soul of you in your body. I mean, like a mechanic, I guess it sounds manual to me, but that would be...
I didn't know there was a well of souls in Catholicism.
Yeah, well, it's Catholicism, and I forget what other versions of Christianity. Maybe even Eastern Orthodox has a well of souls. I forget. Yeah, but I remember reading that's what it's called. Yeah, so apparently there's a well of souls where all souls go, I guess, until they're needed or used by God.
So could you be... Oh, no, because Christians also believe that once you die, you don't go to heaven right away or hell. You have to wait for Judgment Day. So,
yeah. Well, let's move away from free will. Let's talk about morality.
Okay.
Because this is one where I feel it seems like a lot of atheists are sort of violent about the fact, like it's a weird sort of sensibility to be violent, at least in thought, not in physically violent, but vehement, let's say, about the defense of logic, which I agree with, like, at its core, right?
Yeah.
To defend logic is important,
right?
Because logic is easily killed.
I feel like logic's like the first step of wisdom, right? It's the first true knowledge.
I would agree with that.
It's evident. It's there. You can see it without
right, it's
question.
Basic acceptance of your experience.
Yeah,
of your
ice is cold.
Yeah,
that's
fire
logic.
Is hot. Yeah, exactly. So, I think it's interesting to me that most people I've spoken to or read about seem to, want to defend logic. I would say it's a human instinct to defend logic because logic is useful, right, for the reasons we just mentioned, and for lots of other reasons, right? But logic falls apart, or maybe just doesn't fall apart. I guess it never falls apart, but it takes a back seat, or it gets ignored, or worse, it's just thrown out when you come to religious beliefs with a lot of religions. And I guess we're going to be probably talking most about Christianity because I think we understand that the best.
Yeah, I was raised in a Christian household. I mean, I don't believe in anything or disbelieve in anything. It's not agnostic, or however you say that.
Agnosticism.
Agnosticism. Yeah, there you go. Because agnostics believe that that the God that they don't know that's real is the Christian God, right? That's
Agnosticism just says I don't know, or I'm reserving judgment. And really, I agree with Richard Dawkins in his book The God Delusion, where he basically says that agnosticism, he basically makes the argument that agnosticism is the most scientific position to have, and I agree with that because some atheists define atheism as saying they know there is no God, which is not a true atheist, but there are people that
but that's what the definition of an atheist would be.
No,
right?
A definition of the atheist is that just don't believe in anything metaphysical.
Okay, well, yeah,
not that you have evidence there it doesn't exist, right? But that's the point Dawkins makes, is that you can't prove that it doesn't exist,
right? And
therefore it's not scientific for that reason to have that position, and I agree with that. So in theory, that's more agnostic. Is what I understood him to be.
Yeah,
the point he was making.
Yeah. So for me, I just believe I don't know. That's my standpoint.
Do you think that?
And it could be Norse gods, could be real, could be Hindi is real, it could be
Well, do you think religion? First of all, do you think religion is a good thing for people that are religious, or just for anyone?
I think extremism is good for no one.
Right. That's not what I asked, though.
Right. But that's part of it. Because people do take it to the extremes, and then it becomes a negative.
Let's avoid the extremes, because we know that's where logic doesn't exist at all, is in the extremes, right? Those are the people that throw out logic. But what about the people that lead well-adjusted lives, and their morality and their dignity matters to them, and they believe they draw it from their religious beliefs? Do you think that's a good thing?
I think it's positive for them. Yeah, and it doesn't affect me in any way. So
is it positive for others?
If you find it positive for yourself, then yes,
agree.
It is.
I think that's okay.
I wish that I could believe and just like wholeheartedly like know in my heart that Christianity was right, because I would love to be able to see my father again, and I would love to be able to like
who wouldn't want to see their beloved?
Have an eternal soul that lasts forever in paradise. Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
but it's like it sounds like a fairy tale. It's like, you grow up being told Santa Claus is real. He's not real. Fairy tale or Tooth Fairy, same thing. Easter Bunny. It's like you grow up, and then there's all these. What if religion was just Santa Claus, but was just made to help people get through life?
Well, that's just to think about what those stories do for people. I mean, it's very consoling and comforting, I'd imagine, if you believe that when this terrible existence ends, even if you live a good life, you at least can recognize that there is a great deal of woe in our world, right? And it visits everyone. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And it must be very consoling and comforting to believe that not only will that end one day, but if you're good during it, you'll be rewarded for it. And I think, don't you think it's a mistake, or at least is a fumble by people who use logic to disarm a religious person and their beliefs, but then offer them nothing in return that is as consoling or comforting? And now,
it's like taking someone's security blanket away without keeping,
and you don't
warm.
owe that person a replacement security blanket, but if you could, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, it's just kind of rude to take the comfort away from them.
I think so. I agree.
Giving them a substitute.
Exactly what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people don't like atheists, I hate to say atheism because it's not a belief system, but just say atheists, is that, at least on the internet, it generally seem to be the type of person that wants to ruin the party. They're party poopers. and the party meaning religion.
Yeah.
And people like most of my family is religious, and some of them, they draw a great deal of worth and community from their religious beliefs. It binds them like glue to other people. And I think mostly it's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for socializing and learning, even meeting people that you're attracted to, or the opposite sex, or whatever it is that you're into, and I see a lot of religion. I mean, what does religion do that it's probably the most clever with is adapting, right? It takes whatever the modern man believes, or the knowledge that's coming to him, and molds it, tries to absorb those facts for itself in some new way, right? To help just sort of redefine the origins of God and the universe so that they make sense to the modern man. Because no one's going to go around believing Old Genesis, or Old Testament rather,
right?
In their day-to-day life, right? That person would be considered crazy, right? I would think when I speak to like Christian friends, even they agree that like Old Testament is like myth, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard any Christians say that.
Oh yeah, all my, like, the only ones that would agree with like Old Testament are the ones from like the old country, like Bulgaria, like my grandparents' generation. Like they mix New Testament and Old Testament, but most of what they believe is Old Testament because they're Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah. I've never heard anyone say that though. If you believe in the Bible, you believe in the whole Bible. That's what I was always taught.
Definitely not true. I mean, most people I know cherry pick anyway, right? If I bring up some immoral story from the Bible,
most people don't really,
and that's a good thing.
Most people don't know the whole Bible either. That say they're practicing
that is true.
Christians.
Yeah,
they don't intimately know it.
That's true.
They may have read it before, but they don't necessarily. They don't know that it's a.
Do you think that's important? Does that really matter?
I think if you're going to call yourself a Christian, you should be full-headed into it, right? You should know.
Doesn't that lead to extremism though? If you're just 100% devoted to.
But isn't that
word?
the point?
No, I don't think so.
Of the Bible is it's supposed to be read literally. Like that's the.
I don't know. I mean, it's sold perhaps. I think they have bad marketing when it comes to that. But at least in like the last few decades, now when I see like religious, well, I guess it's propaganda because everything's propaganda when you really think about it. But when you see religious like ads on social media or on billboards, it's much more aloof and vague. Whereas I remember when I was a kid, like even, and it's not that long ago, but like in the 80s, for example, you saw I remember looking at religious billboards, and I mean, they were very much in your face, like judgment, if you killing a baby is defying God, like stuff like that. Like, maybe you still see some of that in the South, but this used to be up here in the North, like in Illinois.
Yeah.
And they've toned down their aggression levels, I guess you could say. It's much more guru-like now.
It doesn't help anyone when you're aggressive. You're not going to you get more flies with honey than you do vinegar.
Well, it's true, but the origins, wouldn't you say that historically the origins of like Christian religion, especially, but really most religions, I would think, is fear.
Yeah. No, you're convinced to do the right thing because of you'll go to hell otherwise.
Yeah, and actually I think isn't that a good motivation to try to make people better by scaring them?
Yeah, but isn't that a lie if you're just making this up? I'm not saying that the Bible is, but if you are, well, then it's just a lie. And then just because you're convincing your society to do the right thing through. But if you make it up, that makes it a lie. If you make up this mythology, that's not true.
Even if it isn't made up, it's say the word, say the Bible, any Bible is the word of God or a God, then if you believe that, it's not made up. You're just receiving the message in a scary way.
Yeah, but you can also save people without fearing them, making them fear. I'm a good person.
Isn't it more about motivating people's decisions rather than saving them? Isn't saving the reward?
Okay, well then motivating them to do the right thing, because
how would you motivate?
What it is? The problem is that it's manipulative. That's
what
I don't
honey
like
would
about it.
Zach use to motivate a bad person to do good things?
Well, convince them that it's better for them to in the here and
How?
now
How do you convince someone of that?
by just showing them that your good actions produce more good actions, and those good actions will come back to you.
But what if there's no value in a person? Some people don't hold value in good action. They hold value only in selfish reward.
Right, but
So how do
that's
you-
the point. You get a reward to yourself by doing good
What
things
is the
for
reward
others.
then?
You get help from that person eventually, or from something else that they contribute to.
It's a
that
weak
will
sale,
help you.
though. I'm feeling like it's a weak sale.
No, but it isn't. It goes back to your, if you want to go free will, everything's a chain reaction. If you put it in good's going to come back to you. That's just how that works. If you put in negativity, if you burn a house, the house is gone, right? But if you like build it, you have a house now, and then instead that's the positive and negative energy.
But aren't people also motivated by consequence? So if
Yeah,
you know
but
God's wrath is a terrible torture or something to be completely avoided, isn't that a better motivator for
but
people that are evil?
I just feel like it's more manipulative, and it's more dishonest.
It's all about
right? It's more dishonest.
Well, it's all about manipulation. What isn't? I mean, how do we get away from if you're convincing someone with truth and you're not mocking what is true, you're
right,
still
but you're
manipulating
not
them.
using their emotions to your advantage, right? You're not using their fear and their primal sense. You're using their human thinking brain.
Well, you are using their emotions. You're trying to appeal to their softer emotions, their more agreeable emotions. But for some people, that doesn't matter shit. They can only be scared away from their own self being hurt.
I also just don't think fear is a good.
I agree.
Motivator,
I'm playing
in the
devil's
sense of-
advocate, but I agree with you. I think we're learning that in the modern man has learned that, and by modern man I mean like the last 200 years, that motivating only through fear ends up in some really nasty shit. Like
Yeah,
World
you know,
Wars
it
and other
just
things.
breeds more negativity. That's what it is. Fear is a negative emotion, and it's just going to create your scared public, and then your public's going to react in a violent way. You back any dog into a corner, it will bite back. You know, it's the same. That's what fear is. That's what happens to a dog when they get backed into. They're scared. They don't know. They have no escape. So then they lash out. That's what fear does.
Self-preservation seems under attack as well in modern Western society. And I say that as someone who only just is emotional about what he reads or sees in media. And by that I mean like, an animal or a person backed into a corner should fight to defend themselves. But I feel like more and more people they submit.
Yeah, but that's only going to happen for so long.
You think so? You think
I think
eventually nature
eventually-
will swing back and say no?
Yeah,
You
it
gotta-
has.
you
It
gotta
has
preserve.
to.
I agree.
It does. In history. It's what revolutions
Ebb
are.
and flow.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get repressed. Yes, we are repressed right now in many ways, and it's only going to get worse until someone does fight back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's happening. People are fighting back. That's what Antifa has been doing, and
What would it
maybe
take? Well,
it may not be the right answer right now, because I don't believe violence is ever like the best way to get done what you want. It's just a word. We're humans. We're adults. We can use words. We can
there's
use
so much
ideas.
violence in nature. Wouldn't you say that violence is natural, that it does serve a purpose?
It is natural, but just because it's the easy way doesn't mean it's the right way.
Well, that's in a perfect world. We don't live in a perfect world, though. We can't always have that answer, right?
No, you can't, but you can strive for it.
What would it take for Zach to be motivated to sacrifice what he holds dear in his life to fight for freedom? How far would they have to go? Would society
It would have
go?
to affect my family and people I care about.
So it has to be personal.
Yeah, that's what would make me fight, like get violent. Is once it affects my family, then I have to.
So some people feel like that way exactly when they feel their beliefs are attacked. They find that to be very personal in the same way that you or I would find our mother being attacked, let's say. They feel the exact same way when their beliefs are attacked. And it doesn't have to be direct either. It can just be propaganda, or it can be a change in the laws or the country or the state that they live in.
That's.
What do you think about people like that?
Well, I think that's very childish.
Is it though?
I think that just fighting back because your ideas contradicted.
But isn't that what we're taught about the revolution in this country? I mean, that people were motivated not because their families were per se personally attacked, but because their country, that their beliefs, these new ideals that they had, were under attack, and they took that personal, and they said, "No, we're going to have our way. We're going to have it our way."
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how that all went down. I know there was a lot of, they always say taxation without representation, and that, hey, there has been a lot of worse things that America has done to its own people since then than just taxation. But,
well, there's a lot of ideals. It's not just being taxed by a foreign power that owns your colonies. I mean, without getting into it, just the idea that you can feel personal about, you can be emotional and take it personal, the attack on an idea that you think is worth defending. And I think, in this case, I would say I'm not playing devil's advocate. I would say that I agree. I think that is important because those are the kinds of people that induce change in a society. Now, they're not, I think historically speaking, they're not always the best crowd, right? And this isn't an attempt to like defend Antifa or Black Lives Matter or anything like that, because I think they're much more disenfranchised than, say, revolutionary or Civil War occurrences in the past, because life was just much harder. I mean, just my grandparents' generation comes from a level of strife that I can't even compare to in my life. And I've had shitty things happen to me, but it doesn't compare to what they had to go through. I mean, it makes me feel like I live in a cloud.
No, I get that. I've heard stories of people who had to fight like Bolshevik revolutions and things like that, and just come out of that like repressed like culture where their family was literally being destroyed.
And just imagine going back in time. Now go to the grandparents' generation of your grandparents, right? And they had it even worse. Imagine that your grandparents or my grandparents can't even have trouble even relating to their grandparents because of what they had to go through just to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Like survival to you and I is granted, isn't it?
Is granted?
Yeah, like so our survival to you, like for you and me, for you and I, our survival is granted. And what I mean is like if you get hungry, what do? You just go and get food. Mm-hmm. You don't have to hunt it down. You don't have to grow it.
Oh no. Yeah, we don't.
If you need heat,
we don't fight to survive anymore.
If you want to sleep, you have a comfortable bed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I think that's what cheapens any kind of revolutionary person in our modern day. And religion mixes into that weirdly. I actually wonder which direction religion will go now in the future. How will it attract new members?
I don't know. I feel like with every new generation, there's less and less religious people.
That's probably true. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's important to think rationally and not emotionally. I think emotions can be useful, and then maybe they're good for first judgment, but you need to take that further and use your rational mind and think about what you're feeling and how you can improve your situation with the way you're feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Do you think it's rude to try and convince someone out of their beliefs if they're not hurting anyone?
I don't think it's rude to have a conversation with someone that believes different than you.
No, that's not what I said. Do you think it's rude to...
You can present your case,
right?
And you can present why you don't believe, and they can present to you why you should,
but I mean,
and
like,
you can present to them why they should.
Religious, like to actually want to try and argue with them and convince them.
I don't think
no reason.
I don't think that's necessarily rude. If you're
really?
Two adults and you have,
what would be the point of trying to convince someone? Why? In other words, like, all right, let's say you were doing that. Why would you want to convince someone to stop being religious? What does it matter to you if they're not hurting anyone?
Well, see, I wouldn't do that, right?
Okay, but pretend
I don't think that
you know someone that would. You don't think that would be rude?
If the other person is willing to have the conversation with you about that, then no.
Well, no, that's not a conversation. The atheist is attacking the religious person. Their goal is to convince them, to argue with them, to just change to drop religion, but they haven't. It's not instigated. They're just doing it.
Yeah, maybe that is a little rude, but I don't know. Because, yeah, you're not hurting one, so you can believe whatever you want. I don't care.
The reason I ask is because I see it all the time on the internet.
Really?
And it's something that I don't agree with. I think it is extremely rude to want to change someone's beliefs if someone is a good person. I personally don't care what they believe.
Well, as long as you're not personally attacking that person,
right? If you're not doing anything wrong, if you're not hurting others,
as the atheist person trying to convince you not to be Christian or Hindu or whatever, if they're not saying you're stupid or saying that all this other,
Well, how about the reverse then? Because religion's been doing that since its inception. It's constantly trying to convince people to agree with it. So do you think that's rude?
I don't think it's rude, but I don't like it. I don't like being told to believe something, right? But it's not rude. You can tell me whatever. That's the beauty of being in a free country.
I feel like you're defining rudeness without. I mean, isn't that what it means to be rude?
What? Just like
for me to interrupt you in your thinking or your whatever you're doing, and to just a stranger to come into your life and say, "Look, you've got it wrong. This is how the reality works, and if you don't do something about it, you're gonna be damned for it."
See, when people tell me that, I don't think that they're saying that I'm wrong. They're saying that what they believe is they believe that they're right. They're not necessarily saying like this is how it is. They're just saying this is how I see it to be.
Well, it used to be that they were calling you wrong. Then that changed into you're just confused, and I want to help you, which is a little nicer, but it's still rude.
Sounds like when they're like, you're not gay, you're just confused.
Well, that was an argument too.
Yeah.
That dude throughout the 80s and 90s, that was
pray away the gay.
That was considered polite to speak to a gay person that way, which of course, but see, isn't that rude? That's incredibly rude, right? I mean, that's like treating someone like a child. I find that really rude.
To me, to be rude is just to be mean without trying to do anything but be mean. It's like a troll. Trolls are rude.
Well, I think the rude is broader than that.
Yeah, maybe it is, but for me, that's how I see it.
Okay.
That's the definition I was using when talking about, is it rude for someone to try and convince you? Because I don't have a problem with people telling me their beliefs and telling me how they see the world, because I want to see things in a different light.
You want to think about things you may not have thought of.
Yes.
Right.
I want to see things. I think I don't know. I find it really hard to believe in a religion, because to give yourself to a god is just like, that's what throws me. It's like, I don't want to be subservient to anything. I want control of my life and my destiny.
But isn't
that is how it...
Okay, but does that mean nothing in the universe is greater than you?
No.
What about the substance?
It doesn't matter if it's greater or more powerful or whatever. I just want complete control for myself. And I don't want, because when you succeed, then it's all on you. You succeeded by your doing. You did not, and when you fail,
really? So
when you fail,
you take credit for every inch of your success. All your victories in life were all you.
I'm not saying that I didn't have help along the way in anything. I'm just saying that it was me who did the thing.
And so do you feel that you have complete control in your life?
I have complete control over what I do in my life, yes.
Really? Nothing stops you. You can do anything you want.
Within the rules of the reality I live in.
Within the rules of reality. Well, so then we are governed by rules.
Yes.
And those are more powerful than us.
Right. Like I said, I didn't say there was nothing
well, you did,
more
really.
powerful than ourselves. I'm just saying that I have control over what I do, though.
As long as it's within the rules.
Well, I can't fly with my magical thoughts like I wish, right?
So, how does that make you feel then? To be that if you really, I think, because here's what I think. I think if you stop to think about it, you have a lot less control than you think you do as a person, and I think that the natural first reaction for that is to fight, is to get angry, and I think that's really the core of a lot of anger. At least I know for myself it was, is realizing that I had a lot less control than I thought I had or wanted to have. And the only way I was able to humble myself was to think of reality and being as more of like a symphony, right? And then my goal went from trying to be the symphony to trying to be one of the best instruments in the symphony. Because there are rules to the universe and rules that man sets as well that control us. We're not in as much control as we think we are, or we wish we were. And I think it's important. I know for me it was important, especially in the process of liking myself and believing in myself and things that I knew I could do or learn to do. I had to get over that anger that swelled whenever I realized that I just didn't have control. That I was always out of control, really. It's like the opposite.
But I don't, when things are out of my control though, I don't worry about them because I can't do anything about it. But I can control what I do. I can control the actions I take to improve things or to make things worse.
Well,
but I can't control if it rains, right? So,
yeah, I guess
I'm not going to the park today.
No. I'm not saying that. Yeah, I'm saying that when you realize you have a lot less control over everything, not just the macro, but the micro as well. And the micro being, let's say, your personal decisions, right, for your day-to-day life, right? Like you learn Japanese. You're doing a great job of teaching yourself Japanese.
Thanks. I'm trying.
No, really, I'm super impressed by that. Really, I am. And I think that's great, but without a doubt, I'm sure you feel that that's something you have control over because you applied yourself to do it and now you're succeeding at it, right? And I just think that is the greatest level of control we can possibly have for ourselves. And where I used to place that was at the front of everything else. And that's what made me feel like, this immortal person, like just, living my life tacitly, like passively believing I was immortal. But then I realized that I had a very short part to play, and then I had very little time to do what I want in that part of the symphony. This is where I go back to the idea of the symphony. And so that's just what I mean by that, that as far as the universe is concerned, we may not matter at all, but we matter to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's important.
And to the ones that care about us.
Yeah, hopefully there are those that care
exist.
about us. Yeah, those exist, right? Yeah. Well,
there might be someone, I don't know, there's gotta be.
There's people without anybody out there, man. I had neighbors like that in the city, and they had no family, they had no friends.
Yeah, but I feel like there's got to be alone. At least someone that cares about you. At least one person that maybe doesn't think about you every day.
Hopefully you know who they are.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would help you.
Yeah.
Man. So last night, I was trying to find a religion out there that doesn't have any gods or any dogma or anything like that. I couldn't find one.
Right.
Buddhism was close. But
Right.
they still have like deities and sense, and they have an afterlife and things like that, and reincarnation and all that stuff.
There's still metaphysics to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was looking for something that focused on the self and didn't really in improving the self.
Okay.
Which Buddhism does come close to. So I ended up making my own religion.
Okay. Well, this sounds good. What are you going to call it?
Well, the working title is Religion Z.
Ooh.
That's just a working title.
The Church of Z. It's very new age.
Yeah.
Very 90s sounding.
It's also this generation's religion, Generation Z.
Shit.
It's my name as
All right,
well.
So you thought of this. I want to hear this now. Let's hear
Okay.
it.
So pretty much to me, the aspect of an afterlife and gods and all that stuff doesn't matter nearly as much as the here and now and improving the self. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Is now. So be happy now. Don't work for your afterlife because you don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
Or at least there's no proof to know what's going to happen.
Right.
So I think that you should always be kind to other people because that's just going to help you.
Oh, okay. So are these your tenements?
These are like tenants.
Or tenants, rather. Tenements. Tenants.
Yeah.
Okay.
My pillars of truth, if you will.
Yeah, your testaments. Okay. Let's hear them.
So I think you should be kind to other people because that's just going to help you. If you put out, like we were talking, positive energy and positive actions, that's just going to come back to you. It's the same reason you shouldn't burn any bridges, because you never know when that person's going to help you or can help you, or so they know someone who can.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's important. And then people will always annoy you. There's always going to be someone out there that can annoy you. At least this is my...
Even people you like can annoy you.
Yes.
Sure.
So you had to find ways to deal with them and how to make them...
Very Mr. Rogers of you. I like that.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I did grow up then, right?
Yeah.
Well, not then, I guess.
Hey, he's one of my heroes, man.
Yeah. He's an amazing man for sure. So you got to find ways to accept them and be able to work with them.
Right.
Because it's only going to help you in the long run. This is just about making you a better you. You should always be kind to animals and tools and things like that, because if you put respect into it, it's always going to work like better for you.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that goes pretty much. That seems a little similar to your first.
Yeah, it's
testament.
the same. Yeah, it's the same thing. Be kind to people, be kind
awesome.
to animals.
So
it's the same thing. It all comes back. You know, it's
That's what you should do. Just make all your have 10 testaments, but they're all the same.
But they're all the one.
See above.
It's much like Fight Club. Don't talk about Fight
Yeah.
Club. That's all rules.
rules 2 and 3 say see rule 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fine. That's good with me.
I also think you should think about your actions at the end of your day. You should go back and think about what you've done.
Introspection.
But not rumination.
No, of course
there's
not.
a big difference between
Absolutely.
the two. You don't want to mull over and just think
You don't
about
wanna
how
dwell.
embarrassing
Right.
your wet pants were. You know, you just want to like, okay, I shouldn't have splashed water on myself this time. Move on. Be more careful next time when you wash your hands. You know, and then like, you should think about conversations you had as well, and if you still agree with what you said in that conversation. You know, if you had like a disagreement with a friend or something, you should always think about.
I agree. I think it matters.
You were right, or
I
if
think
they
it
were
matters. I think it matters. I think we should care about what others think of us, not in an abstract sense, because you shouldn't care about what everyone, what every passing judgment of you, but you should care about how you affect others and what they think of you if they matter.
Yeah. And just like philosophical discussions as well on top of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just think if you still have the same viewpoints as you did at the beginning of the day, and allow yourself to change.
Nothing feels more exciting to me mentally than my mind being changed and like upgrading my belief.
Yeah. No, it literally feels like an experience boost,
you
right?
can
It's
feel
like,
it. You level up. You do
does.
level up.
And it's really cool because when you like just come to this new realization, it's like, oh, this is how the world works.
It can change the way you look at the world. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that you should also practice letting go, especially of things you can't control.
Is that the same as forgiveness?
Yes, in a way. But what I mean is like how to stop ruminating on things that you've done, just like, or someone or something's annoying you. Just literally
accept your bad decision or the event and move on.
Yeah, I've literally or like if you're in a situation and you're just really extremely annoyed, I've literally closed my eyes and just repeated, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, and it like.
And it's not because you were watching Frozen.
No, it's literally just because I think words have power. And I think that they have power. The words you say have power for yourself more than anything, because you can you know the true meaning for yourself for that word and what it really holds. So you know what the feeling of the word has, so you can use that to your advantage.
Amen. How many testaments is that so far?
Let's count them. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
How many did you?
8. I got 2 more.
Oh,
so we got 10.
6. Damn. Okay. Oh, you have 8. We've gone through 8 so far.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Those melded together so nicely. I thought they were like 1 or 2. That's nice. It's better. You're telling a good story.
Thank you.
All right. Church of Z continued.
I think you should always be trying to learn something new. I think that's important to, again, expand your mind and learn new things so
knowledge
you
is
can level
power.
up. Knowledge is power. And the more you know, the more interactions you can have within the world. And the better you can make your world that you live within. And then I think diet and like exercise is also very important, because you should always be active And once you give up on your body will give up on you. So you always have to be at least walking and trying to eat healthy, at least something, not just eating sugar and
This is starting to feel like a really good idea. I think you should establish this religion.
The problem is, as I made this religion, I realized it wasn't a religion. It's more of just philosophy.
Right. Religion is philosophy.
Religion is philosophy in many ways, but the defining feature, I guess, is that there's a deity or there's some form, there's metaphysics.
There's a game board.
A game board?
There's a game board for the game pieces. That's what God is in my mind.
Okay.
If you want to simplify it down to that, is that you can have all these game pieces and all these rules to the game, but they don't make sense until you can see the board, right? It's like Monopoly. If I described Monopoly to you, you'd probably guess pretty close to how it was going to look and play, but you wouldn't understand it and confidently be okay with it until you saw the game board. And then you'd understand everything more clearly and it would feel simple to you.
Yeah, if you know how the universe operates, then you can better manipulate it.
And that's really the role that God plays. I mean, he's the cogs in the machine.
Yeah. And then, what was the list? Oh, I also think
This is 10.
So that was 10, but I did think of another one that I didn't get a chance to write down, was that objects of power can be a useful tool as well. And I think that
power can be a useful tool.
Yes, so an object of power, or an oops, if you will.
Nice, Zach.
That's not mine. That's from a video game, but I took it to make something else. But anyways, so an object of power can be like a bracelet, right? And it's something that you feel, you see, and what you do is you meditate your wants and your desires into it. So you clasp it within your hands, you visualize what's in your hands on your head, and you think of things that you want to associate with this bracelet.
So then foci. It's a focus.
Yes, it's a focus point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to, say, talk to more people, talk to girls or something, and you like focus, like in your mind, you think about, I want to talk to girls, talk to more girls. And then you put that, and then every time you see your bracelet and you see a girl or you see your bracelet, you're going to think, hey, I should go talk to that person. I should go make conversation.
It's an interesting concept. I actually like that concept. I feel like humans do this anyway, but you've refined it into a simple way to understand it.
Yeah, the first time I ever heard about something like that was what this guy called magic circles. And he pretty much did the same thing. He would take like the energy.
Well, it sounds similar to, yeah.
Yeah, and you take the energy and the ideas of that manifestation and put it into a design. And he has like tattoos of it. He has it drawn in places. He does things, and it's just associations. All of it.
It sounds similar to like again, New Age, like crystal diametry or whatever.
Yeah, okay. So like that's the thing. That's another thing, is that I don't think crystals and all that bull is anything, right? Mm-hmm. I think what the power is the association with your mind that you make with it. That's what's powerful.
I think that's
what's useful.
And you
there's no
solved the problem to crystals. I think.
I solved the problems for crystals for me. This church is literally for me.
I don't know, man. House of Z sounds cool, although that does sound like House of Zod. So maybe we should do like Church of Z, like what do you want to call it?
Well, right,
Religion of Z right now.
Religion Z is
Religion Z.
Yeah, is the working title. Maybe we'll come up with the.
I don't know, man. I like it. I think you should get tax breaks and have followers.
All right, you want to be
my pope or something like?
You can be my first initiate. There's no.
Okay. Oh, there's no hierarchy.
There's no real hierarchy, right? But there would be.
How are you going to make any money?
Will be again.
What else is the point?
The point is to become a better you.
Yeah.
Marco. Don't you want that?
I believe in it. I agree.
So, and the thing is, this is not something that would work for everyone. This is a religion that works for me. This is a religion that may work for others that think like me. So if you think like me, come on down to the Church of Z.
The Church of Z. And now together, ready?
Amen.